2023 was definitely the year for the GMT, with the emergence of the NH34 Seiko movement. However, today we're not looking at one of those. Today we're looking at a true GMT piece that comes in under £500. Borealis is a watch company out of Portugal. Yes, I said Borealis, not
Borealis.
They've been around for a few years now and there are plenty of reviews on their watches. I think this is probably the third one that I've had in, but it definitely has the potential to be their best. Before we get into this has been sent to me for free and I do get to keep it. However, Borealis have no control over the review and they have no say in what I say about their watch. Now, let's get into it. This is the Estoril GMT, probably the most summery watch I've had on the channel. It makes me feel like I should be sat on the beach in the Algarve with a pint of Sagres in hand. This is a prototype and there have been some big changes to this in production. For starters, they've massively improved the bezel action on this model and increased the click rate to 96 from 48. It is also worth mentioning it's a bi-directional GMT bezel. They've changed the clasp to a quick adjust milled piece. As well as that, they've obviously increased the QC and the quality in production as you would usually see after a prototype. It's nice to see because I think it is imperative for brands to listen to their consumers and reviewers alike to make sure that they create the best watch that they possibly can. Borealis have done that here. This features the Miyota 9075 movement, which is a high beat true GMT movement, and it is one of the real big draws of this piece. However, for me, the real draw is the bright colours that they've applied to the watches, especially this model. The substantial case design drawing its inspiration from the Seamaster 300, a vintage 1960s piece, and its obvious budget nature. Having mentioned the Seamaster 300, let's talk about how it's inspired this Estoril. The dial, handset and case design pay tribute to the late 1960s model. Through its diamond handset, vintage triangular dial markings, even down to the cursive model print at the 6 o'clock. However, Borealis have injected some very modern interpretations to the colours used on this watch, as well as converting it to that GMT style with the GMT bezel. The turquoise dial and orange accents take a very serious dive watch and make it almost a fun summer piece. That being said, this is still a very serious dive watch. It has 300 meters of water resistance with a nicely loomed dial, bezel insert and that quick adjust clasp to go over a dive suit. All of those features make this a very serious proposition as a dive piece, as well as being a complete Travellers GMT. This is fitted with a domed sapphire crystal with AR coating, seriously helping out the dial itself. As well as the crystal, the bezel insert is also a sapphire bezel insert with a nice split GMT, as well as stark white loomed markings. The watch casing is really well finished with the brushing and polished facets. As well as that, the casing fits rather well. Let's talk about the dimensions. On my calipers, I have in at 41.5mm in diameter, 13.8mm thick, including that domed sapphire crystal. Lug to lug comes in at a very wearable 46.8, and we of course have the very versatile 20mm lug width. This has such a legible yet playful dial. The variant I have in hand is the date version, however it is available with no date. If you want to see more of that, check out Top Tier Tickers review on these, and while you're there you can also leave him a few comments about how he pronounces Borealis. As well as the overly sized triangular indices and the dial marking, we have a 1269 Arabic on the dial for the date version and a 12369 on the no date version, which again pays homage to the Seamaster 300. We all know I love that style of dial. I think it's time for me to get these lights out and show you the lume that this Borealis is offering. As you can see on this one, the lume signature is really present. You can see that the bezel is fully loomed, as are the indices and handset, especially with the sapphire bezel insert, because it really does reflect the light very well. One thing I will say is that the light colour of the dial definitely takes away from the lume shot. I don't think it is as impactful as it would be on a darker dial. I can't really give this any less than a 7 out of 10, and that's a very solid 7 out of 10 because they've done everything right and it's really well applied throughout every point of the watch. which is nice to see and exactly what I expect at this price range. This watch is offering a fully stainless steel bracelet which fits and conforms very nicely to the wrist and is in a president-like style. And I think with the on-the-fly adjustment, that's only going to make it an even better fit. Let's get this one on wrist. As you can see, the lug-to-lug on this watch really does help. It is a much beefier watch. On wrist, definitely has a presence, the real dive style presence, but with that 45 to 50 mil lug to lug range and the president style bracelet, you can tell that it's actually a really easily wearable watch, even for someone with smaller wrists like myself. And I think they've done a really good job with this casing. Not that we owe that to Borealis, this is definitely down to the Omega style case that they have. Obviously this isn't the perfect watch, it does have its flaws. Firstly, the lume isn't bad, but with this turquoise dial I don't feel like it pops as I would like it to, and how I imagine it does on the darker dial models. Secondly, and this one really does annoy me, changing the date on the date variant is pretty archaic in nature, because the first click is occupied by the hour hand. Due to this being a true GMT, you have to manually change the date window. And if I'm really honest, it's 2024. I thought that type of mechanism went out in the 60s. I honestly just don't have the time or patience for it. It may sound lazy, but I like my date complications as easily accessible as a lady of the night, not a nun. Overall, it is an absolutely lovely watch, and I can barely see why Borealis are still a very popular micro brand. The colours are brilliant and the build quality is definitely there. They are offering something fantastic, and at $600, I think it's a really good deal. Let me know what you think of this one, guys. Are we still as impressed by Borealis and what they're offering? Is this your type of watch? Let me know in the comments. One thing I will say though is opt for the non-date version, because you really don't want to be spending half your day getting the date right.